No one wins in war. There are degrees of losses, but no one wins. These are the words of Neville Chamberlain, a British Prime Minister of the World War times. This statement is a universal truth or not, but still it is time tested. In the last centuries, we have seen many wars in the European continent, but there has been no winners in that. There are losses for both the sides. The degrees can be different. So, hello everyone. Today we will talk about that which will be the winning side in the Russia-Ukraine war. Russia-Ukraine crisis is going on, and on 24th of February, Russia declared a war against Ukraine and it started invading its military. First, it gave a statement that it is going to invade the regions of Lausanne and Dostin because they are the easternmost, and in that the pro-Russian ideology is widespread among the people. But now it has also started invading other parts of Ukraine from three sides. That are from the southern side, Russia is invading through Crimea. From the northern side, Russia is invading through Belarus, which is mm, invariably a partner or a different province of Russia, for lack of better words, and also Russia is invading from the eastern side of Ukraine. So yes, Ukraine is being covered from three sides by Russia, and it is very difficult for Ukraine to carry out its defense in from Russia. And if we talk about the history, then both the countries were part of USSR in 2091. We all know USSR disintegrated into 15 countries. Out of that, these are two. Russia is the biggest one, and Ukraine is a very significant country because there are a lot of oil reserves there, and it is, in terms of land area, it is the biggest country in the whole Europe. So Ukraine is a very important country in the world, and it is under attack. It is under invasion. So who will win? So as there is a war, let us talk about the military mights of both the countries. So Russia is the second largest military in the world, second most powerful military in the world, and they spend about 65 billion US dollars on their military. If we compare it with Ukraine, then there is no comparison. Ukraine stands 22nd in World Firepower Index, whereas Russia stands second. And also, Ukraine spent as less as 5 billion US dollars because it is economically weaker and a smaller country. So there is no comparison in military might. So if there is no comparison, then there can be some external support for Ukraine. But in today's world, no one is wanting to engage in a war with Russia because that can lead to severe repercussions. That can lead to even World War III. Like, the NATO forces has denied that they will not indulge themselves in the Russia-Ukraine war. Also, US is not sending troops in Ukraine to show some resistance against Russia. Ukraine is uh, Ukraine is completely alone. And if we talk about military might, then there is no comparison. So if we solely depends on military might, then Russia will win. So let us talk about some history because history is very important while concluding a winner. So let us talk about the history of Russia. Whenever Russia has tried to invade or show some aggression in the world order, then most of the times it has not been successful. If we talk about the 20th century, then the Russian aggressions were a complete failure. From the starting of 20th century in 1904, when Russia indulged itself in the war in a war with Japan, then it was not able to win, and Japan came out to be the superpower in Asia. Also, after that, Russia also indulged itself in the First World War from 1914 to 1919, and in that war, Russia supported the Allied powers. It was in the Allied powers, but due to some internal conflicts, it has to withdraw. It had to withdraw um, its military from the Allied powers. So this is also a thing that can be also concerning in the modern day world because uh, because because there can be a scenario in which the people of Russia are not happy with the are not happy with the Russian government, because Putin Putin, under the administration of Putin, the economy of Russia is not going very well. It is even facing some downfall. Even after the COVID-19 pandemic, it is not able to recover as fast as other countries are recovering. Also, the climate change effect in Russia is very huge. Russia is getting more hotter than other parts of the world at a 2.5 times rate. Also, droughts and floods are now very very common in Russia. So a lot of distress among the people is there against the Russian government, that they are spending 10% of the GDP in military, and the real issues that must be handled are not being discussed about, or not being addressed by the government. So the people can show some unrest in them, and there can be some um, civil protests, civil riots in Russia against the government. And in that scenario, Russian government will come into a huge distress, because one side they are indulged in a war, Ukraine is showing resistance, and at one side there are within the country there are some disturbances. So in this scenario, Ukraine can have a edge, but still, as Russia is exceptionally higher in military terms, then such things can act as a friction, but not will not bother the Russian victory. Another thing in the history has been the Second World War. In Second World War, Russia all again took part into the Allied powers, and Allied powers won the war, and they were able to defeat the Axis powers, that were uh, Germany, etc. Germany, Japan countries. But after that, soon it was not able to reap out the benefits of winning the war. It was comprehensively participating in the war with the Western countries, like France, like USA, like United Kingdom, but it was not able to reap out the benefits, because just after the war, Russia got itself, or USSR got itself indulged in a cold war with the USA, and hence there were a lot of sanctions on it, and it was not able to reap out the economic benefits from the Second World War as well. Again, in 1979 to 1989, it indulged itself in the Soviet-Afghan War to show some aggression, and it wanted to expand. The USSR wanted to expand its territories, but the Russian, but as Afghanistan is called the graveyard of the rulers, and hence the USSR was no exception. And in 1991, we all know that USSR disintegrated, and this was and the Soviet Afghan war was a major reason in that. In the modern day, as Russia was the biggest country that divided from the Soviet Union. In the 21st century, it also showed some aggression. Also, in 1996, Russia tried to show some aggression in Chechnya, and in that it was also not able to be successful. In 2008, it showed some aggression on Georgia, and Russia was this time was successful to take some territory from Georgia. In 2014, Russia got itself indulged in a war with the Ukraine's former part Crimea, and it was successfully able to invade and annex Crimea. After that, we are here in 2022, when Russia is trying to invade Ukraine, and Ukraine is also showing resistance. Ukraine is showing resistance as Ukraine has ordered that the males from 18 years to 60 years of age will not be able to leave the country. And as all the population is in the country, all the fighting worthy population is within the country, then Ukraine can show a huge resistance to the Russian forces. And if a resistance is there, a prolonged war will be there. And Russia do not want a very prolonged war, because because of different repercussions of that. First is that in a long term war, there will be a lot of economic disadvantage to Russia, because when when aircrafts are flying, when fighter aircrafts fly, when troops march into another territories, then the money flows like water. And Russia do not want, because it is still, because it is already suffering with the economic problems. Another thing is that there are a lot of sanctions. Russia cannot use, Russia cannot import technologies from European countries, and no investment from European and Western countries like USA will be in Russia from now. And there are a lot of other sanctions, like the projects of Russia are being cancelled throughout the world. So, due to these sanctions, Russia cannot bear a very long-term war. So it wants to destroy the Ukrainian resistance, and it want to completely annex Ukraine within a few days. Another thing is that if Ukrainians lead to guerrilla warfare, if all the Ukrainian just showed a huge resistance, then it will not be easy for Russia to completely invade Ukraine. It can invade a certain territory, but it will not be able to completely invade Ukraine. So this will not be very easy for Russia, and hence uh, there is a no clear result for the question that who will win the Russia-Ukrainian war, and there is also a danger of swift transaction sanctions. Under that, Russia will not be able to do any US dollar transactions further, and that will be a huge loss for Russian economy, a very huge loss, because all the international transactions, even today, almost all of them are in US dollars, and if Swift ban is there, then the Russian economy again will have to bear huge losses. So that was about the question that who will win the Russia-Ukrainian war. Thank you very much.